Adebayo. We off the record.
with you there, but if you're a coach, do you take that chance?
Yes. You can reach us at the Off the Record Show at gmail.com. Anthony Adebayo. And the most accurate sports coverage. Scotty B's Fantasy 5. We off the record.
We're different from any other sports.
His sophomore year. Comes back and says, you know what?
And your boy, Scotty B. We off the record. We off the record.
What's up, man? What's going on? What up? Nothing? Nothing at all. This is Off the Record. I'm Anthony Adebayo.
Scotty B, man. It's been up, man. It's a lot. This went on during this week.
So before I even continue, I gotta make sure that I sound is good. And our sound is good. What do you know? They couldn't hear us before, and now y'all can hear us.
Okay.
But yeah, it's definitely been a lot going on in the last few days or last couple weeks. Last week or so, we had the draft last week. NBA playoffs, of course. So I mean, those have been the main things. You know, you had some.
Well, before we get started, we got to shout out Brianna. If you're watching, congratulations on being accepted into Xavier and deciding to go. So the question that I've been meaning to ask you, I've been holding it for a couple of days just because I wanted to ask on air. Did she get a scholarship, or you have to pay out of pocket for that?
Oh no, they giving us money. She's getting money.
Okay. Because I was almost hurt for you because I was thinking about this on the way into work. I was like, dang, yo, Aunt got 2 kids that's gonna be in college at the same time. And they're out of state. So I was just doing the calculations in my head. I was like, man, yo, it's gonna be a broke brother trying to.
Well, that's too late. It's too late for that. But nah, so we've been blessed because Janiyah and Brianna have done well in school to get some sort of money, for school. So it's just is cool that they don't have to. Well, not they that we don't have to pay, like full out of state tuition because Xavier University ain't cheap.
No.
Neither is North Carolina Central. Neither one of them are cheap. So I mean, it's cool. We went there for a visit. She enjoyed it. It was, to me, it seemed like her favorite visit that she went out of all the schools she went to. So, I had a feeling that was where she was gonna choose to go to. And then, like the last second, Penn State came rolling around, and they was throwing some money out there. But I think that Xavier made such a good impression on her from the time that we went, that she was locked in on going to that school. And it would have took a lot for another school to get her from going there. So, I mean, it was a nice area, a nice campus. Everything was nice, so she was like, "Let's do it." So it wasn't my choice because she's the one that has to go there for 4 years. So
well, I mean, it's a tremendous accomplishment. To shout out to you and Janiqua for everything that y'all did. Your kids could be doing a lot worse, man. But to have 2 kids that were able to get some sort of scholarship money, to go to school and to be able to attend, especially in this day and age, to where it feels like education hasn't been the focus point. I guess like when we were all growing up, it was like, you got to get your education.
Right.
But, I guess we're in the day and age to where there's other ways of making money. So a lot of people are veering off into that, which is fine because, it's the new way. But at the end of the day, I still think that education is really important. And
absolutely,
the more educated you are, sometimes the better opportunities that come your way. So, But other than that, man, what else has been going on?
Man, so I'm not one to shy away from luck because you win some, you lose some. So, the Royals, we've been on a 2-game slide. We looking to turn it around this week. Some inconsistent play, but I feel like personally that we'll be fine, right? I know sometimes people don't want to hear you say that because it's like, well, address what's going, and as a team you address it, but I'll say this time last year we had the same exact record with a 2-game losing streak, and everybody knows how that turned out. So that's why I tell the guys, like, let's just stay the course and we'll be fine. But we got another game. Our home finale is actually this weekend. Then we have 2 games left after.
Okay, what time?
7 p.m. at Huguenot High School.
Okay.
And,
so I was planning on coming to this game.
Mm-hmm.
And then my wife had a place that she had to be, and she, ran a little bit over, so she didn't get back in time.
Oh, the game that we just had.
Yeah, the game that you guys just had. Maybe I'll make it this weekend. I know Cam's got a baseball game, but I might.
But the game. Sorry about that. But the game is at 7 p.m. So anybody out there that want to come through, and we'll make it happen. But yeah, it was frustrating. I don't really like losing. I'm super competitive, so shoot, if we lose, it's but nah, it's been all right. You look at the brighter side, the lighter side of things, and you move on. So let's talk the draft, right? Because I know, and I want you to think about this because we're gonna talk the playoffs and everything. But I want you to think about, and I want the people watching and listening, who do you think is the best player from the last 10 years? You got LeBron, you got Steph, you got Giannis, you got James Harden, plenty of people. There's enough. There's enough people to go around. So you got from 2013 to 2020. That's a lot. That's So think about it. And but in the meantime, the draft. What are your thoughts?
So it was very difficult for me to get behind this draft.
Right.
Because the draft, this is just my opinion on the draft, just my stance.
Mm-hmm.
It's really all about your team, right? So it's
it's
the one time a year to where everybody's got equal footing.
Mm-hmm.
You're hoping that your team comes away with some players that's going to help you compete, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the last couple of years, we've made a splash with our draft picks. We traded up to get Trey Lance,
mm-hmm.
and then we made a in-season trade to get Christian McCaffrey.
Right.
All that came to fruition this draft. We didn't have a first rounder.
Right.
We didn't have a second rounder.
But you had multiple thirds.
Yeah, but those were compensatory picks from the league. So we traded our third. We traded our fourth, and then we ended up having the fifth, but then we had 2 other fifths. So ultimately, we had 3 number 3s
mm-hmm.
and like 2 number 5s, and then the 6 and the 7, which at the end of the day, it kind of like panned out because it was like, we basically gave up our second rounder to get Christian McCaffrey because, the third rounder kind of offset itself.
Right.
And then the 4th rounder kind of offset itself with another 3rd rounder. And then the 5th rounder, we had a plethora of those. So it was, I say that to say that I like what we did in the draft with
mm-hmm.
what we had,
mm-hmm.
but it wasn't nothing to like write home about like, oh yeah, it was just like, okay, we addressed some needs that we knew that was there.
Right.
I like Moody, the kicker from Michigan.
Absolutely, he was like the best kicker in the country.
Yeah, I love him. I don't know if I was all the way thrilled that
the kicker.
Yeah,
that is the highlight of your draft.
Yo, I was like,
hey, listen, man. And here's the thing: is that a good thing? It's like he drafted a kicker in what, the 5th? It was
the third.
Oh,
It was the 3rd round, and it was another guy that was slated the best kicker in the country. I personally, because I watched Moody all year, I thought he was the best kicker. I don't know, man. It was a lot.
This is what I'll say. This is what I say, because you couldn't draft a quarterback then, right? I think that you guys picked up Sam Darnold. You still got Debo. You still got Christian McCaffrey. You still got Kittle. You still got Purdy. The old line is solid. You still got Ayuk, and some of those other pieces. So I can understand. I mean, because ultimately the guys that you would have drafted, they're probably not going to play anyway.
Right, and that was the thing with this year's draft for us, was it was more about depth. We didn't get Lamar. Obviously Lamar re-signed with the Ravens.
Right.
Which, I mean, I would have been all in if we would have tried to get Lamar. But at the same time, I was okay with us level setting this year, not doing anything like crazy to go over the top, and then having all our draft picks for next year and kind of going that route.
So I mean, me personally, in regards to the Cowboys draft, I did like our draft. Of course, seeing Mozzie play, seeing the tight end play. Now I will say I wanted Mayer in the 1st round. He was there, and I really do hope it doesn't come back to bite us, right? Because we had an opportunity to get him. We addressed the D tackle spot, which we needed to. So
yeah, you got. I'm not going to say the best run stopper in the country, but he's pretty good.
He's damn good.
Yeah, he's pretty good.
He's damn good. So I mean, so I'll say this. I'm happy with our draft. I think that the last maybe 7 to 8 years, the Cowboys have been hitting on their draft. Like they for the most part, you got guys that are producing. I mean, you look at the 2016 draft, when we got Dak and Zeke in them. If I'm not mistaken, I think Dak's the only one left from that draft. But we got a lot of production out of Zeke. We got a lot of production out of Then we drafted Frederick. So I think that we've done well in the draft, and I thought that we did well in the draft. I think the best moment of the draft was Deuce's dad being able to draft his son to the team he works for. So I felt like that was probably the best moment of the draft, one of the best moments of the draft. Let's talk about Will Levis.
Okay.
So he was projected. I mean, I don't remember a draft board that didn't have him top 5 or maybe even top 6, 7 or whatever. Right. So a lot of people had him going to Indianapolis. And I saw, just watching some of my friends that were there, Will Levis, Colts fans wanted Will Levis. Me personally, I looked at him like a Blake Bortles, right? So I didn't really care for him that much. But how do you feel about some of these guys going to the draft, being invited to the draft, and not being drafted until, not being drafted day one?
Well, I think it's life. So it's life on one end, right? You know what I mean? Like everybody, like that's a risk that you take. Like everybody's not going to be drafted in the 1st round. And ultimately, that doesn't decide your career. I think you said it best. Most 1st round draft picks are busts. Right. We get excited about it, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be successful because you're drafted in the 1st round.
Right.
What I disagree with is the guy's being called to the draft. He's there. He's with his family. the pressure's on and he doesn't get drafted,
Mhm.
and then you're dealing with the embarrassment of not being drafted in the first round and the cameras in your face at your at your lowest moment. You know, and we've seen it year after year because there's always one player that ends up sliding in the draft, and
all the time.
I mean, every round they're just got the camera in that person's face, like, oh yeah, look at his reaction.
And I feel like Levis was used. I think that a lot of these teams used them to try and get leverage to get the person that they really wanted. So he kind of was like, he was just like bait, you know, and you know, because Indianapolis drafted Anthony Richardson. Houston drafted C.J. Stroud, who you say he's going to be the best in the draft, right?
Right.
I still say Bryce Young, but I mean, we'll see. But so I think a lot of these teams use them, and you know, I saw the joke of he slipped in the draft because he put some mayonnaise in his coffee. Oh, and you know what? He should. He eats bananas with the peel on it, and he puts mayonnaise in his coffee. You know what? Now that I think about it, I would have told him to sit there and look stupid because that's just dumb that you're gonna eat a banana with the peel on it and put mayonnaise in your coffee.
As silly as that sounds for somebody sliding in the draft, I mean it is weirdo behavior and it's a red flag. You know what I mean? Like it's other things that people flag as being a red flag for certain players. You know, why wouldn't that be? But I did feel bad for him.
Yeah, I did too.
I think that he ultimately ended up in the best situation that he could end up in. For Ryan Tannehill has fell out of favor with the Titans. And I think me and you, I think we can come to a healthy compromise that he's an average quarterback. You know what I mean? He's not bad. He's not terrible. He can get the job done. He's got some strengths and he got a whole bunch of weaknesses. But at the end of the day, he somehow gets the job done.
Right. I agree.
But if there's one quarterback that I would feel confident that maybe I could unseat, it would be Ryan Tannehill.
Absolutely.
I feel like that he has a history of getting hurt. He doesn't stay hurt for long, but the opportunity to like come in there, kickstart the offense or do something to make Tennessee question putting him back in there,
right?
Is highly likely there, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. So if the Titans drafted Tayshaun Spears from Tulane. Tajay Spears from Tulane, but I think he's going to be a monster if he get. I mean, I know they drafted Haskins, but I think that this guy is better than Haskins. And I mean, you don't really know what's going to happen with Derrick Henry. Some people are saying they're going to cut him June 1st, or he's going to get traded.
So let's stop there for a second.
Okay.
Right? So Derrick Henry, how much more do you think he has left in his career?
Derrick Henry?
Derrick Henry.
At the rate that he's going now is not a lot. If he has a running mate, he has plenty. I think that, but eventually it's going to get to the point where his cap hit is going to be like, this is too much.
So as a Cowboy fan, would you take Derrick Henry? I mean, I guess that's a dumb question, right? So every team,
I mean, you have opportunity to get Derrick Henry. You take Derrick Henry.
Every team, but like for the price tag, right? Like if you had the opportunity to get him, but you had to pay market value for him.
Oh, you're paying over market value.
Yeah, over market value for him. Would you take him?
So here's the thing. if we could afford him, then I would say yeah, man. I mean, because you add Derrick Henry with Tony Pollard, and then you still got Deuce. Ronald Jones is gonna get cut. He's not gonna. He's probably gonna get cut. I feel like we had another back. The guys from Malik Davidson, all of those guys. So, if it makes sense financially, I would say yeah.
I think anybody should do it.
But I would say this. I would probably because you got Cook as well, right? So it's like you could get Cook or you could get Derrick Henry.
So Cook is the smarter move, but I think that Derrick Henry changes your offense. I think the reality, and I'm going back to this, and a lot of people may disagree. He hasn't really played with a good quarterback. I mean, he's played with an average, mediocre quarterback, but you pair him with an above average quarterback that could get that can.
What are you trying to say about that?
He's an above average quarterback.
Okay.
So here's the deal, and I don't want to get too far into this. I'm not going to disrespect that. We're not going to do that today, but I do want to see just a tad bit more from him this season. And I want to take my fan cap off, and we're not going to talk 49ers, Dallas, or anything like that.
I'm listening.
But I was overall disappointed in his playoff performance, and he was disappointed.
Yeah, I mean, he had a bad game.
He had a bad game. But so here's the deal, right?
Mm-hmm.
Unless they're playing the 49ers, for Dak, I want him to be successful. You know what I mean? I think that he takes a lot of unfair criticism, and I think that he's shouldered a lot of the blame, and just the way that they kind of do that, I want to see him succeed. So hopefully he's able to make a deep playoff run, if not win a Super Bowl. And aside from not being a Cowboys fan, I would like that for him. For him to be successful.
Well, thanks.
Yeah. I mean, all
but I mean, I still think saying somebody is above average is a tad bit disrespectful. I think that. So
he's a tier B quarterback.
He
is not
so
right
who's
now.
Tier A?
Patrick Mahomes.
Okay, that's it. Because right now,
so it changes from year to year, right? You know what I mean. So I think
if we're going based off of just last year,
I think you got to put Burrow and Mahomes just based off of last year. I'm not talking about career because I mean, obviously, Aaron Rodgers would be in that conversation, but I'm just talking about right now.
Okay,
Patrick Mahomes elevates his team like no other.
Right,
Joe Burrow. You've got me sold on him. Everybody else, Lamar, he had an MVP season, but you almost make the same argument.
He was hurt. I mean,
he was hurt, but it starts over. Josh Allen, he's been consistently good, but is he Patrick Mahomes? No. So it's. I say right now, Burrow, and you got to put Mahomes there.
That's
and the tier B, I would say right now, Josh Allen,
Lamar. So where would you put Jalen Hurts?
Tier B. I mean, he had a Super Bowl run. He had a hell of a season, but part of the NFL is consistency too, right? Because you can make the argument that a lot of those quarterbacks have had one good season, but to consistently be able to come back and do it over and over again. I mean, Russell Wilson has been a top tier quarterback at one point in his career, but
absolutely.
But based off of how he played last year, nah.
Okay, no, and that's fair. and speaking of Jaylen Brown just tried to dunk on Embiid, and the MVP said no. We'll get to that in a second. So, yeah. So I agree. Derrick Henry hasn't played with a good quarterback, or I don't want to say good. He hasn't played with a top tier quarterback in his career. So, for him to go to a team like that with a ton of weapons, because let's be honest, he hasn't played with a ton of weapons either. Right. I mean, he had AJ Brown for a couple years, but I mean, aside from that was it. Every other time it's just been him or bust, So, and he's been that guy, and he's gotten it done. So I'll say this: if you're saying to get Derrick Henry, absolutely, it is what it is. So let's go forward from the draft. Let's talk about some grades, right? Who do you think had the best draft?
I think it's between the Eagles and Seattle.
All right, let's stop right there, because I think that and people are gonna say I'm hating. I'm gonna call it what it is. I think that people are overrating the Eagles draft. Because ultimately people are saying the Eagles had a good draft because they got Jalen Carter, who fell. It's not like he was, and they got Norman Smith. So here's the thing.
I think linebacker from Georgia, right?
Yeah, but he's gonna be like an edge type guy, right? And I feel like he's undersized, but that's another subject for another day. Jordan Davis was drafted by the Eagles last year, and he was a first round pick, and ultimately he wasn't getting it done. So they signed Joseph, and they signed Ndamukong Suh because he wasn't getting it done. Now, that's not to say that his second year he won't elevate, but these guys are unproven, right? And
so I don't think that's fair.
What?
So hear me out on this, right? You're absolutely correct on everything that you said, but the draft is strictly off of potential, which means that you haven't done anything, but you got the potential to do things. So when you look at on paper, when you look at the Eagles, if the scouting reports, the evaluations, and everything is spot on to what the experts are predicting, yes, they had a good draft. Does that always happen?
I didn't say they didn't have a good draft. I just think that people are overrating. They like.
Okay, so what do you think is the best?
No, I thought Seattle had a hell of a draft.
So I agree with
you. Here's the thing. Now, I do think that Philly did have a good draft, but I don't think that their draft, made them 10 times better than they were last year. They lost a ton of starters. Like, they lost a ton of starters. Like, I mean, yeah, you lost Hargrave, and yeah, you drafted not Jordan Davis, but you drafted Jalen Carter. But who's to say, he ain't Hargrave is solidified. He's experienced. We've seen what Hargrave could do.
So, and this is where I'm disagreeing with you, and it's not the point. It's their draft doesn't necessarily put them back in the Super Bowl, but their draft was a really good draft. It was one of the it goes neck and neck with Seattle. Now, again, does that make them the automatic winners of that division? Will they repeat as conference champions? I mean, you don't know,
right.
Because like you said, it's other factors that you're right. They did lose a lot of talent, but in the effort to replenish that talent, I like what they did. Seattle, Pete Carroll, he just knows what he's doing.
He knows what he's doing. I was about to say that. I was like, I see one of our friends here, Big, he said that the Giants had a
real good draft.
They did have a good draft, and getting that receiver from Tennessee, I think is a sleeper pick. I think that I feel like they got a little better, but we just not gonna know. I mean, I feel like, and I felt like this before the draft, is the Giants season is based off of what Daniel Jones does. It's not gonna, everything else is not gonna matter if he doesn't take the next step, because 15 touchdowns ain't gonna get it done.
No,
15 touchdowns is not gonna get it done.
So this is what Daniel Jones reminded me of. He reminded me of Alex Smith.
Oh God.
No, I'm dead serious, and you know, I'm not trying to be funny. He made the plays that he had to make, and he showcased that he can run with the football, and he made the passes that he needed to make. So the fantasy person in me is like, oh yeah, that's not enough. But the football fan and just looking at, okay, you can have a crappy quarterback, but would you prefer a quarterback that just wins games? You know what I mean? And figures out how to get it done. Will Daniel Jones be a top tier quarterback ever? Or will he be an above average quarterback? Probably not, but he's fitting the mold of what they do. You know what I mean? And that's
Right.
At sometimes he's average, sometimes he's a little above average, but he's making the necessary plays.
I mean, if he plays that Minnesota defense next year, then he's gonna be an all pro.
Right.
But
yeah, he had flashes and he showed things that he hadn't showed in previous seasons. I mean, This was the first season where I was like, you know what? He deserves to be a starter. Deserves his money if that's the direction that they want to go in. I mean, it is what it is. I mean,
okay. So
Cardinals. You got to talk Cardinals. The Cardinals had a good draft. And it's not about the players that they drafted. It's about
the trades that they made.
Yeah, because they got Tennessee's some of their picks, and of course the Texans picks. So they're sitting pretty next year.
And the funny thing is, do they get rid of Kyler Murray and go get Caleb Williams? I mean, they're gonna have the picks.
You know, so Kyler Murray has to be careful. The regime that was married to Kyler Murray is not there anymore for the most part. I think the GM might still be there, but if he has another injury-prone season, because it felt like this year that when he played, he was good, but he had moments to where the team needed him to play, and he wasn't available. And for whatever reason, this year Arizona could not win the close games.
Right,
like he couldn't. I mean, he had moments and he had flashes to where he put the team on his back, but for the most part, there's a lot of games that they were in that you just kind of needed him to step up, maybe make a throw, make a play. And it just didn't happen. So
all right. So so we'll see. So let's get to the winner of the week, and then we'll probably get back to some draft, but we got to get some NBA talk. But before
we
that,
gotta go in the NBA to draft. So we gotta get to the NBA. I've been waiting to get to the NBA.
That's true. All right, let's get to the winner of the week.
No, you're a winner. No, you're a winner. No, you're a winner. No, you're a winner.
Yeah, so this week, my winner of the week is a little weak. I know that, but I just wanted to call out something that I saw, and this is going to lead into a bigger discussion, right?
I kind of think I know where you're going.
So my winner of the week is Chris Bassett. Chris Bassett is one of the starting pitchers of the Blue Jays, right? So I don't know if you knew this, but pretty much he was in the first inning. He threw a pitch. It was called a ball, and but it was a strike. Through his next pitch, ends up walking, gets the bases loaded. Throws to the next batter, hits a grand slam, all in the first inning. Walks off the field after they get out the inning. He takes the team's tablet and just starts crushing it. So where I'm going with this, and you know, his behavior I thought it was a little excessive.
Okay.
Had this been basketball and the player walked off, been destructive to team property,
Oh my God.
what would the story be? Because this kind of got, I mean, it happens a lot in baseball. You know what I mean? Like it's happened before, and it's just one of the things to where it's just kind of, what's up?
I just feel like it was a slow news week.
Yeah, it's very slow.
So 'cause here's the thing about that. Tom Brady does this almost every week. He's broken. So hear me out. So Tom Brady has broken so many Surface Pros or Microsoft Surfaces that you know, they don't. It's almost like they don't care anymore. I get that, right? If someone like a Cam Newton or Lamar Jackson or somebody like a black quarterback was to do it, it would have been front page. When Tom Brady does it, nobody bats an eye. So I feel like what I don't want to say it's like a race thing, but if it was in basketball, which is predominantly black, and they did do such a thing, I think that you know, it would be front page, and I think they would be making a completely big deal out of these sorts of things. Now, it doesn't really happen in basketball because you don't really have electronics out there like that, but you do have like chairs, and you be kicking chairs, and you got the dumb basketball players that punch the wall like the wall is gonna give and break your fist or your hand. So well, first of all, he had a bad inning. Let's start at that point. He had a bad inning.
He had a terrible inning.
Yeah.
But I guess my point is not really so much to focus on him
Mm-hmm.
being the winner of the week.
Mm-hmm.
Is when is it okay to call it passion versus aggression? And it's the age-old argument to where you just mentioned Tom Brady does it.
Mm-hmm.
And we're not going to make it a race thing, right? We'll just make it. When is it okay,
Mm-hmm.
and when is it acceptable, and the double standard with it, right? You know
Right.
what I mean? So I just look at if you had other players
Mhm.
going out there in different sports, taking team tablets and really just going to town on it in the dugout.
To me, I
How
think
would
he
it
got
be-
anger issues.
Yeah, but that might be the story, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, is this person getting suspended because they need counseling or they need you know, I
Yeah,
mean,
no, I hear what you're
but
saying, yeah.
but that narrative, it just spins differently.
Absolutely. No,
For
I agree.
Yeah, so
I agree. So we can close up this chapter of I do feel like you have to find a way to control your emotions. Right? I think that breaking a tablet or breaking something like that, you're out of control and you can't really control your emotions. So everybody out there, control your emotions. See me on the football field, I control my emotions. And even as a coach, I know how to control my emotions. And if Phil says anything, he's fired. So, but nonetheless, let's talk these NBA playoffs. Before we talk NBA playoffs, because we still got some time, let's talk about Dillon Brooks real quick. Because I thought you was going to give the Memphis Grizzlies or whoever their social media person is.
Now I wanted to
winner of
stay
the
away from Dillon Brooks and Memphis because I knew we were going to talk about that and we were going to talk about the
Yeah.
playoffs. But let's get to it.
So as we saw, I guess it was yesterday, the Grizzlies, or I guess Shams, reported on Twitter that the Grizzlies would not be bringing Dillon Brooks back under any circumstances. And when I first saw it, I thought it was fake, because I was like, there's no way a professional team said something like that about a player that, I mean, he has his moments, but he hasn't really done anything crazy. He hasn't really been suspended like that, and he hasn't had any legal issues or anything like that, or any off the court issues. So I felt like it was unfair and kind of crappy to do somebody like that. Like, forget all the stuff he said. It almost looked like they made him out to be the scapegoat that they lost.
Absolutely did make him out to be the scapegoat.
And it was like, come on, man.
And that's why I wanted to stay away from that, because I do think it was cruddy too. They tried to spin it like, okay, we're not bringing him back because he turned down our offers at the beginning of the year, and
right.
we just considered this to be the last strike. But what that team was mad about was they were mad about him egging on LeBron James. And the Lakers, after he said those comments, I mean, it was like the Lakers switched another gear,
right?
And it was I mean, they got one more game out the deal, but it was dunzo.
It was a wrap. I mean, so I think that I don't know if it was somebody from the front office that said that, or if it was somebody, because a lot of times these teams hire social media people just for that. So I don't know.
But then there also could be something behind closed doors, right? So we don't know what that did to the locker room, because like maybe everybody didn't agree with, because you didn't see had Draymond said that, right? And I'm just giving the different context. The Warriors would have stood behind them. You know what I mean?
Right.
The Warriors would have backed their guy up. You know what I mean? No matter how left Draymond goes, the team has got his back in the public.
Absolutely.
With the LeBron thing, nobody doubled down on that. Nobody they kind of like left him like, yo, that's his thought, and nobody commented on it.
Right.
But they just kind of left him out to where it's kind of like, dang, maybe this dude is tripping, and we don't know if that was the breaking point in the locker room to where that could have went both ways, right? A comment like that could have had everybody step up. They start talking mess, but it looked like they regress and they didn't meet the Lakers' intensity. It was just
right. No, and I get that, and losing by 40 in a closeout game is it's not a good look for your organization.
The game after he said those comments, the first quarter, 35-9.
Yep.
It was ugly. it was. I mean, they slapped that team around, and again, like I said, they were able to get that one win, but it wasn't close.
No one thought that they was going to win Game 6. I didn't. And then when it came out, I said, like, the first 3-4 minutes, I said, this game is over. They're not playing with any sort of intensity.
So it's worse too, and we can leave this topic there unless you want to add on something. It's nothing worse than when you talk that talk and you don't walk the walk. So that could have been part of it too, to where you calling out, you don't respect LeBron for dropping 40, but he's torching all of us. Like the rest of the team is feeling like, he ain't dropping 40. But
I have to.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I mean, and so he had weenie behavior by not talking to the media after all those losses and things like that. So I don't agree with that either. But nonetheless, the playoffs. I think we got some good series going on. The first round, I don't remember so many lower seeded teams winning in the playoffs. I mean, in the East, you got the Knicks, you got the Heat, and they happen to be playing each other right now, tied 1-1. In the West, I mean, you got the Lakers, you have the Lakers, the Warriors, who are playing each other, and then the Suns were a 4 seed. They were the 4 seed, and the Clippers were the 5 seed. So I mean, but that's still 4 lower seeds that advance to the second round. And so, I mean, I don't know what that says about the league right now, but I mean, it's.
So I'll tell you what it says. It doesn't necessarily mean that. So you look at the teams that advance, they really all made adjustments. at the trade deadline, with,
Yeah.
with the exception of the Knicks. So you look at the Heat, right?
Mhm.
And I've been watching this Heat and Knicks series pretty closely, as expected or whatnot.
Mhm.
You had said it about the undrafted players last week.
Mhm.
They have done an outstanding job in identifying dogs.
Mhm.
And Eric Spoelstra, I'm not going to go on a limb and say he's done his best coaching job, but what he's been able to get out of those guys and the way that he's been able to get them to buy in, and he does it year after year,
Mhm.
is tremendous. I mean, that Miami team, I'm rooting for the Knicks. I still think the Knicks are going to pull it out. I know you disagree with me. I think we're going to take care of business. But that Heat
you don't
team,
really believe.
Oh, I absolutely believe that. I absolutely believe that. But Miami team, man, they're dogs, man. They're dogs.
Well, I'll say this. I feel like that's gonna be a throwback series. I think then game 3 now coming up, so we got at least we got at least 5 more games, at the least, and at the most we got 5 more games, but this series could go 7. It could go 6.
It's going 7. Last night, and a couple of games have been like this. The Boston Philly game, to where it's a playoff game. I mean, neither team is backing down. They know that they need to be there. The scary thing about the Miami team is that no matter what the deficit is, they don't get rattled, right, and they continue to play.
Absolutely.
And there's no fight in that team. And when you're facing a team like that, it's tough. Now, the Knicks, they've got tremendous heart, and they've got a lot of underrated talent that has been showing up. I mean, Jalen Brunson, I can't say enough about this guy other than I was not keen on the Knicks picking him up over Donovan Mitchell.
They could have got both of them, but that's another story for another day. We don't have to do that right now.
I'm not, because I'll use the rest of the time.
And so I've seen the Knicks play in person a few times this season. Seen the Heat play in person a few times this season. And during the season, of course, it's a whole lot different. But I'll say this. I don't want to do woulda, shoulda, coulda, but if a healthy Jimmy Butler plays in game 2, the Knicks definitely would have lost.
And see, shoulda, coulda, woulda. If a healthy Julius Randle would have played in game 1, the Heat would have lost. I mean, you could do that. You could do that all day.
I don't know about that. I don't think Julius Randle would. Well, first half he had a pretty good first half. We'll see. We'll see. It's gonna.
He's the star.
I'm taking. Who's the star?
Julius Randle.
Yeah.
He's a star just like Jimmy Butler. So look,
Jimmy Butler's definitely better than Julius Randle.
Oh yeah, he's better, but collectively, I don't know if the Heat are better. So here's the thing about Jimmy. Jimmy is having a good run now, but will Jimmy hold up the rest of the series?
He turned his ankle, and we'll see how he. They don't play till Saturday, so he pretty much has a whole week to get better. I'll say this: we've seen Jimmy Butler in these situations before, and he's balled. We ain't really seen Julius Randle. We haven't seen Julius Randle in these situations. Now we've seen Jalen Brunson last year get his team to the conference finals. So I won't discredit Jalen Brunson. I won't even discredit the Knicks as a team. I think this is going to be a really good series. But I'm going with the Heat. It ain't even.
As you should, but I really think the Knicks are going to pull this out. So we'll see how it goes.
I sense a bet coming on.
We'll see. We'll see.
Scott don't want to play. He don't want to make no bet. But no. So the other series, Boston and Philly, Embiid is back tonight. I think Boston is up at halftime. Gave him 40. James Harden gave him 45 in game one. I prefer Philly. I'd rather see Philly win this series, and I'd rather see Philly advance. I just don't trust Boston. I don't trust Boston. I don't. I think that they've been playing very inconsistent these last couple months. I'm dating back to the regular season, and it's just like I don't trust them. They didn't flip a switch. Miami flipped the switch. New York flipped the switch. Even Philly in game one, they flipped the switch. Boston, I'm just like, I don't know. They're probably gonna win tonight, right? Because it's just, but I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't trust them.
I don't think many people trust them, and I think really honestly, if they lose this series, I don't know what the future holds for them. I don't know if they're going to try to figure out how to get rid of Jaylen Brown and bring in a different piece. I don't think they'll get rid of Tatum.
Brown is a monster. Oh no.
Jaylen Brown is a monster, but he's got one more year left on his deal.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't exude the confidence in the organization.
Mm-hmm.
Like I feel like to an extent he doesn't feel like he gets the respect that he deserves.
And I agree with him. I agree. He would be a number one on a lot of teams.
He would, but he falls into the Jimmy Butler syndrome.
How so?
So Jimmy Butler is a superstar, right? We could agree there.
Mm-hmm.
But for whatever reason,
I would say star, but
it was star, superstar.
Mm-hmm.
He teeters that
right.
line.
Absolutely.
I feel like teams have never been all in on Jimmy Butler, other than the Heat, to the extent like they are on other superstars. Like for example, you got Milwaukee.
Mm-hmm.
They're all in on Giannis.
Absolutely.
You got Golden State. They're all in on Steph Curry. And when you say superstar, those are his peers, right? You know, like the Stephs, the Kevin Durant's, the LeBrons, like all those people are in this tier. The Luka. But I feel like Jimmy Butler does not get the same respect as some of the other superstars. So I want to tie this back into Jaylen Brown. If Jaylen Brown was to go to another situation, he could be a number one, but I don't think like teams are just settled on, you know what, this is the guy that we're going to have as our guy for the next 5 years. I think that they will consistently try to either pair him up with another number one, or they'll try to bring in somebody else.
I mean that's the state of the NBA. I think that's, you know, for the most part, you got to have a running mate. And speaking of which,
but I guess with Jaylen Brown, what I'm saying is, do you look at him as a player that I'm going to make the focal point of my offense, I'm going to build around, or do you look at him as a player that I need to pair him up with a running mate? Because there's a difference, right? So they look at Tatum as he's the star of the Celtics. Jaylen Brown's a running mate. Can that role be switched to where, you know, what environment do you see Jaylen Brown being your number one option and your drafting team needs based to fit him? Right. And that's what I mean with Jimmy Butler, to where it's kind of like most teams look at him like, okay, we're getting another superstar. Let's pair him with another superstar, opposed to we got Jimmy. We're all in on Jimmy. We're going to make the offense fit around him.
That's fair. That's fair. I agree with that. When you explain it like that, they view Jaylen Brown, at least the Celtics. And thinking of that, I was thinking of like places where, he can go where he can be. And I have a feeling that something like this is going to happen. Don't be surprised if he's a Clipper next year. Don't be surprised if Jaylen Brown, a trade comes in the offseason, and they, whether it's Kawhi or Paul George, or they trade both of them to different situations. Don't be surprised if Jaylen Brown is the number one for the Clippers next year and they build around him.
I think that would be smart. I think what the Clippers have done over the past 20 years, and we'll get to the player that we think is the best in 10 years, so we wrap up, is they've bought a lot of superstars, right? You know what I mean? From, they drafted Blake Griffin, but, they brought in, the Chris Pauls, and, they had that little era, and then, they kind of took a dip for a while after Chris Paul, and then, they brought in, all the Kawhi Leonards and the Paul Georges, and it really has yielded always the same result.
Absolutely.
They've been a really good team that has really never really made it past the second round, so it's one of those things to where, okay, do you stick to the same formula that has not worked, or do you go in a different direction? So I wouldn't be surprised if they level set and try something different.
Yeah, I would definitely trade Kawhi and Paul George and figure everything else out, because they clearly aren't getting it done. They're barely playing the games. And me personally, I think Jaylen Brown is someone you could build around and get some other pieces and things of that nature. So we'll see. Could Kawhi coexist with Jason Tatum? I mean, shoot, he only a part-time player anyway, so I'm sure it is what it is. And Boston's for the most part is a deep team. So all right, your best player in the last 10 years.
Since you put last 10 years on it, you got to exclude LeBron's playoff run with Miami.
Why?
Well, you said the last 10 years.
He won a championship in the last 10 years with Miami.
He won two.
He won one. He won one in 13.
He's won one with Cleveland.
And he won one with Miami. He won one with Cleveland. Yeah.
But there's one player that's won 4 championships during that span.
Okay.
And has been.
I'm glad because he took the bait, y'all. He took the bait. Let's go. Go ahead and say it. Go ahead and say it. And I will tell you why he is. Go ahead and say who you think has been the best in the last 10 years. Go ahead and say it. Go ahead and say it. Go ahead. You ain't gotta think about it. Go ahead. You done took the bait already. Go ahead and say it. Go ahead. Hey, you here? Go ahead.
It's hard to debate stuff, Kirk.
Okay. Now, yes, he won 4 championships. Let's remember that Kevin Durant was there for 2 of them. Okay, and they were a nuclear weapon once Kevin Durant got there. All right, that's the first thing. Second, he won 1 Finals MVP, so he was the best player on his team. Because honestly, the first year LeBron could have easily won Finals MVP because he was clearly the best player on the court. Want me to keep on going? Sure, why not?
No. I think it's a valid argument.
I ain't done yet.
Go ahead.
I ain't even done yet. And in that time, like you said, LeBron, he won a championship in Cleveland, beating Steph and them, coming back from 3-1 down, however you want, whatever excuse you want to say, that Draymond got suspended. He would only miss 1 game. Draymond got suspended, whatever. Oh, Steph was hurt, but people don't look at
Andre Iguodala was hurt.
Hold on. But people don't look at in 2015 when Kevin Love was hurt, Kyrie Irving got hurt, and it was LeBron and Matthew Dellavedova. They went to 6 games. Then after they lost, after Golden State lost in 16, the battery's about to die. But hold on, I got you. We're good. We got plenty of time. Actually, I'm glad that the battery sign is over your head because your battery's about to run out because I'm sick of this. But no, the answer is LeBron. LeBron is, yes. What? First of all, he was in the final. He was in the finals in 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, and 18. Okay. Now hold on, I'm not done yet. He was in the final. He was in the finals in 20. He was in the finals in 20. So I mean that LeBron was the best player over the last 10 years. Over Giannis, over Joker, over Steph, over KD. LeBron he's been the most consistent. It's LeBron, dog.
Everybody's entitled to their own opinion.
And now it says change the battery pack. You know what? And on that note, we got to get out of here. I win. This is off the record. I'm Anthony Adebayo.
Boy, Scotty.
Yeah, we're going to change the battery because Scott's battery ran out. And we out of here.
Anthony Adebayo. We off the record.
With you there, but if you're a coach, do you take that chance?
Yes. You can reach us at the Off the Record Show at gmail.com. Anthony Adebayo. And the most accurate sports coverage. Scotty B's Fantasy 5. We off the record.
We're different from any other sport.
His sophomore year. Comes back and says, you know what?
And your boy, Scotty B.